So good afternoon, everyone. I'll introduce myself. I'm Idan Ofrat. I'm a CTO, a CPO, and co-founder at Fireblocks. Before I start, how many people here are or consider themselves entrepreneurs? All right, great. How many people here are builders, developers, engineers? Perfect. Okay, so this presentation is exactly for you. And what I want to give you in the next 50 minutes is hope, is to boost your motivation. As you all know, we are now in what's considered a crypto winter, and also the macroeconomy is not in a very good shape. And what I want to basically show you is that we are actually in a very good times to start your next big thing. And the way I'm going to show it to you is tell you the Fireblocks story. So for those of you, how many of you don't know what Fireblocks is? Ever heard about Fireblocks? Okay, so there are some people here in the audience that haven't heard about Fireblocks. Fireblocks is basically an all-in-one platform that enables every business to build their blockchain-based services very easily and securely. And we also provide our customers with a way to manage their digital operations, digital asset operations very easily. We are now considered the world's largest provider in the space with over 1,500 customers. As you can see, we are very, very well funded and we work in a very high scale. You can see here some logos of who our customers are. We have customers of all types, from banks, exchanges, payment service providers, Web3 companies, gaming platforms, hedge funds, market makers, and also we have customers like a whiskey store apparently. So we have customers really of all types using us for a variety of use cases. And this is how it all started. So late 2017, probably everyone remembers, this is what's now called the cryptocurrency bubble. Everyone was into Bitcoin, right, and cryptocurrencies. And your grandma, your aunt, your relatives, your friends were calling you and were asking you, how do I install a Bitcoin wallet? How do I buy cryptocurrency? And apparently there was another set of people, another group of people called the Lazarus Group. How many people here have heard of Lazarus Group? So the Lazarus Group is a hacking group funded and sponsored by the North Korean regime. And they were enthusiastic of cryptocurrency for a completely different reason. And the reason was that they found out that it was very, very easy to steal cryptocurrencies. And allegedly, they stole over $200 million of cryptocurrencies just out of the money that was in South Korean exchanges back then in late 2017 in a very short period of time. It was basically just in a few months in very sophisticated attacks that required technological knowledge, but also social engineering, and they allegedly hacked into all the major exchanges in South Korea. And when you look at the numbers, it's not just the Lazarus Group, but also other groups in the space hacking groups worldwide. It is estimated that over $10 billion worth of cryptocurrencies were stolen from wallets worldwide. And this was a very serious security issue. And I'm coming from the cybersecurity space, from a very extensive background of cybersecurity, as well as my co-founders, Michael and Pavel. And what we did, we joined forces and we said, wow, this is a great problem to solve, a very serious problem, and we are here to solve it. But we didn't know what exactly we need to solve. And this is my next message to you, which is that every time that you build something new, first understand very deeply the problem statement. You need to understand exactly what you need to solve before rushing into a solution. And as you can see, we did it by interviewing over 50 firms in the space, a variety of companies, hedge funds, exchanges, infrastructure providers, custodians, market makers, everyone that was in the space back then. And we came to some interesting insights that we didn't have before. One of them was that as opposed to the common belief back then was that the only thing that you need to protect against is theft of private keys of wallets. But we found out that there are actually two other things, attack vectors that we need to protect against. And when we were talking to financial institutions in the space, they told us that one of the main concerns that they have, that they need to interact with counterparties all the time. They need to settle with counterparties. And the way they do that is basically tell the counterparty to share their deposit address. And they were afraid that by the time the deposit address is entered into the wallet, this deposit address will be basically spoofed. It will be someone will tamper with it and will basically change it to an adversary address, and then the money will basically go to the adversary's wallet. And the other thing, which was quite surprising to us, because we're in the cryptocurrency and the digital asset space and blockchain technology, but apparently one of the things that they were actually concerned about was credentials to CeFi platforms, to exchanges. And when you think about it, how financial institutions in the space actually interact with exchanges, as opposed to individuals, the way they do it is that there is an entire team that needs to, with just one password or one API key, to interact with an exchange. What happens when someone leaves the team? Then you need to change the password, you need to change the credentials, and they told us this is a real problem for us because the team is not really static, it changes all the time, and we need to reset passwords, and what happens if we have an insider threat, then we need a good way to protect against the theft of these credentials to exchanges. And we took all that, and then we had another insight when we asked them what their problem was. The problem apparently wasn't just around security, it was around what's called operational efficiency. And when you look at what solution there were in the market in early 2018, most of them were focused on just making sure that custody is secure, that you are able to hold the assets very securely. But what happens when you need to move them around all the time? You need to move the assets around from between your wallets, between you and counterparties, between your wallets and exchanges that you interact and trade with. And they told us that this is a real problem because there is no really solution to solve these two problems together, to have your assets both secure, but also to have operational efficiency and to be able to move them around all the time. And what we did, and this is my next message, is don't try to be just a better mousetrap. Try to differentiate, try to build something different from others. And what we did, we looked at what happened in the market back then, and everyone was building a wallet. A wallet that was the only thing that it was supposed to do is basically protect against the theft of static assets, but what happens when you need to move things around? And we came up with a new concept, which we call the Secure Treasury Management Platform. Basically, a platform that in the core of it, it is a wallet. It is a wallet, a very sophisticated wallet with a lot of technology around multi-party computation and confidential computing. But we did more than that. We basically provided them a secure way to connect to exchanges, to connect to other CeFi platforms, and to connect to other services that they needed back then, and also a good way to settle with their counterparties in a very secure way. And we went back to all these firms that we interviewed. We showed them some mock-ups of our product that we conceptualized, and they told us, wow, this is great. Like, if you build that, we're going to buy it, just build it and everyone will buy it. But what happened after that? Probably some of you know, the crypto market crashed. Basically, really was in a free fall. Bitcoin from around $20,000 crashed to $3,000. And then we wrapped our head and asked ourselves, okay, how do we raise money now? In order to build this product, eventually you need engineers. You need a team that will build it for you. And for that, eventually you need money. You need to raise money to do that. And the way we did it was, to be honest, it was very, very hard. We came to investors and we told them the story. And most investors and also most people that we wanted to hire, they were very skeptical. Not just them, but also our friends, our families. You're going to a family dinner and then you tell about crypto and everyone like, okay, this is gone. Like it crashed, it's not going to recover. And my next message is, we really believed in it. We thought that it was really the greatest idea of all times. And eventually one day, like every economy, it's going to recover and eventually it's going to be something big. And what you can see here in those slides is basically a screenshot of two slides that we had already back then from our seed round deck. We called it Web 3.0, not Web 3 back then. And basically the message to our investors, to our friends, to our potential new hires was that it will impact every industry. And one day it will become a $100 trillion industry when you sum up all the different assets that you have worldwide. If only some of them will be tokenized over time, it's going to be a very huge market. So 99% of the people didn't believe in it. They were still skeptical, but eventually you need just this 1% that will believe in your concept, and it will resonate. If you believe in it, if you know how to tell the story, eventually it will resonate to others, and you will be able to convince some investors, and will be able to convince also your new employees. And then you need to tell it to your investors and to a bunch of very talented people that you want to hire. But you don't need a lot of them, and you don't need a lot of money. And this is the message here, is that you really need to think big, but you need to start small. I know that I'm not the first one to telling you that, but you need to really start small. We didn't really need a lot of money. We needed money just for the first new hires, for the first new engineers that we wanted to hire. And just by doing that, we managed to basically launch our first version of the product. We managed to raise money in around July 2018. And then we started building. And my next message is fail fast. You want to make sure that when you build a product and you build an MVP, you want to make sure that you get feedback from the market very, very fast, very, very quickly. And we did that just in 5 months. So you better succeed fast and not fail fast. If you succeed fast, you want it to iterate through it again. We hoped that we would really succeed fast. But what happened was that we rushed to have a product in the market. And this was apparently, in retrospect, a very good idea, because 5 months later, we called our design partners, the one that we interviewed, and what happened, we found out that basically 80% of them are out of business. Why was that? Because the market crashed, and basically every hedge fund that had funds and had Bitcoin, and now it's worth nothing, and they had to go out of business. We called them, as I said, no one was responsive, and we had to be very, very adapted. And what we did was to try to figure out what's stayed in the market, and what we found out is that hedge funds are actually, most of them are gone, but there is a new, or not a new, but a segment in the market that is still established and is still was in the game, which was market makers and OTC desks. So in just a very short time, in a month or two, we adjusted our product to fit into their requirements. We adjusted it, we went to them, and we started selling it. And 18 months from that, we already had 100 customers from this segment. And this was all thanks to the fact that we managed to adjust our product and really fit it into the requirements of this new segment. And then over time, and this is my next message, you don't need to just be with this one product and try to scale it. You need to innovate and iterate all the time, because the market is changing. This market is very dynamic. In 2019, DeFi started booming, and then in 2020, everyone talked about tokenization, and now in 2022, everyone started talking about gaming and Web3, and you need to adjust your product. And what we found out in around 2020 and 2021 is that a lot of players were actually coming to us not for the treasury management platform. We also had APIs. We had basically a developer platform, and we found out that hundreds of customers, what they want to do is to build their services on top of Fireblocks and not just to manage their day-to-day operations. And a lot of the effort that we did over the last 2 years, what actually was to shift from this operator or trading market to a developer market and to start building our platform for builders. And what you see today, these 1,500 customers that we have, a lot of them don't use us just for the treasury management system, but actually to build stuff on top of Fireblocks in very high scale. Around them, there is, eventually, a lot of them are B2C platforms that interact with their customers on their side, and end users that they need to interact with, and they use Fireblocks to do that. Basically, they provision wallets for their end users on Fireblocks, and nowadays you see hundreds of millions of transactions that were basically processed through Fireblocks to support that. And what you can see here is the product stack of Fireblocks. Basically, you see this MPC wallet, that this is the first layer, and on top of it, we have a lot of services that we provide to our customers to build it for any use case. My last message is, and I'm probably not the first one saying it here at the event, is that economies work in cycles, right? It's now we are in bear market. Last year there was bull market. The market is going to be bullish again at some point. It might take 6 months, it might take 12 months, it might take 18 months, but at some point it will recover and will become big. And now it's really the best time to build, to get to as many proof points as you can to hopefully get to product market fit. So by the time the market will become bullish again, you will be able to scale your product and grow with it. And as you can see here in this chart, between everyone in the space that built a product between 2018 to 2020 did it successfully, managed to get a product market fit, leverage that to grow between 2021 to 2022. And everyone that did that, and hopefully you will do the same thing in the next bull market, you will be able to eventually go and become a multi-billion-dollar company. So before I end, everyone here is invited to visit our website, see what we have to offer. And for the developers here, you're welcome to visit developers.fireblocks.com and see what we have to offer you, what we can offer you for the developer audience here. That's it. Thank you.